जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा ओ जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा श्रीला गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा श्रीला गुरुदेवा कि बजयो जयो घोरचंदेर आरतिक शोभा जयो जयो गौरचंदे आरतिक शोभा कि बजयो जयो गौरचंदे आरतिक शोभा जयो तातावाने जग मानलो जग मानलो कि दाखीननी ताय चान बामे गदाधारा कि बदाखी ननी ताय चान बामे गदाधारा निकाते अद्वैदाशिनी वास छत्रधारा वास छत्रधारा की बाबोशी आचे गोराचान रत्न सिंहासने कि बाबोशी याचे गोराचान रत्न सिंहासने याचे गोराचान रत्न सिंहासन ओ आरती कोरे ना ब्रह्मा आदि देवगाने आरती कोरे ना ब्रह्मा ओ कि बनरारी आदि कोरी चामर दुलाया कि बनरारी आदि कोरी चामर दुलाया संज्ञया मुकुन्द वाशु घोषादिगाय संज्ञया मुकुन्द वाशु घोषादिगाय ओ की बशंका बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला की बशंका बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे कर ओ माधुर मृदंगा बाजे परमरसाला माधुर मृदंगा बाजे साला शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे मधुर माधुर बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे मधुर माधुर बाजे हो शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे मधुर माधुर बाजे माधुर बाजे हो शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे मधुर माधुर बाजे बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे मधुर माधुर बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे ओ माधुर 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 बाजे हो शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे दूर बाजे हो माधुर 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 बाजे दूर माधुर माधुर बा हो शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे का बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे दूर माधुर माधुर बाजे हो माधुर 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 बाजे माधुर माधुर बा हो गौरंगेरा रतिक शोभा जग जनमान लोबा गेरा रतिक शोभा जग जनमान लोबा जग जनमान लोबा हो जग जनमान लोबा जनमान हो गौरंगेरा रतिक शोभा जग जनमान लोबा हो गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय निताय जय गौरानिताय गौरानिताय जय गौरानि हो जय गौरानिताय 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 जय गौरानिताय 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 जय गौरानिताय हो जय गौरा चंदेर गौरा चंदेर गौरा चंदेर जय गौरा चंदेर हा चंदेर गौरा चंदेर जय गौरा चंद हो जय गौरा चंदेर 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 कि बहु कोटि चंद्रजीनी वदन उज्ज्वला कि बहु कोटि चंद्रजीनी वदन उज्ज्वला गला देसे बनमाला कोरे जलमाला ओ की शिवा शुका नारदा प्रेमे गदा गदा ओ की शिवा शुका नारदा प्रेमे गदा गदा भक्ति विनोदा देखे गौरार संपादा संपादा की भजयो जयो गौरा चंदेर आरती के शोभा जानवी तातावाने जग मन लोबा हो जानवी तातावाने जग मन लोबा ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे बोलो बोलो कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे जोर से बोलो कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे बोलो बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे रे राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे हो हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हो हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे बोलो बोलो ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय राधा नीलमद श्री राधे ओ जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे। ओ निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल, निताय गौरा हरि बोल। जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद, जय जय प्रभुपाद। ओ जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव गुरुदेव, जय जय गुरुदेव देव, जय जय गुरुदेव। एवरीवन bow down please। जय ओम विष्णुपद परहंस परिव्रजाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस शिला AC भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की। जय ओम विष्णुपद परहंस परिव्रजाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की, नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, जय द्विधा गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपा गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की, वृंदावन धाम की, मथुरा धाम की, नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, गंगा माई यमुना माई की, तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की, गौर प्रेमानंदे, all grace to the assembled devotees, all grace to the assembled devotees, all grace to the assembled devotees, all grace to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada की। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णमस्ताय भूतले भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौराणी कुचारिणी ऋषि शून्यादिपाश्रित। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। नमस्ते नरसिंहाय नमस्ते नरसिंहाय। That's it। प्रहलाद लाद दायिने हिरण्यकाशिपोर्वक्षहाय शीलटङ्कानकालाय इतो नरसिंह परतो नरसिंह इतो नरसिंह परतो नरसिंह यतो यतो यामिततो नरसिंह बहिर्नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह नरसिंहाधिम शरणम प्रपदे तव कर कमलावरे नाकाम अद्भुत श्रृंगाम दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृंगाम केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव कर कमलावरे नाकाम अद्भुत श्रृंगाम दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृंगा केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे ओ जय केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
ओ जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह देव जय नरसिंह ओ जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय भक्त प्रहलाद जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय भक्त प्रहलाद प्रहलाद महाराज जय भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज जय भक्त प्रभु हो जय जगन्नाथा जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा मा जय सुदर्शन चक्र जगन्नाथा जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा मा जय सुदर्शन चक्र हो जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान ओ निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल जय श्री विघ्नहर्ता नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज की श्रीला प्रभुपाद की बोल प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. I don't know if I need it. No, this is okay. This is Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Shri Radha Nila Madhava ki jai. Thank you for coming tonight. Tonight I'm going to speak about Tesla, but not the car. I'm going to talk a little bit about Nikolai Tesla. He was a very brilliant person, and I'm going to explain why brilliant people have tremendous brains, but they always fail. And it's interesting to understand this. You see throughout history, you have Alexander the Great, you have Hitler, you have so many different charismatic people like that. They start like with a lot of success at first, and then they fail terribly and cause the deaths of many people. So they're considered to be Rakshasas. Rakshasas are superior to human beings, and they live mostly on the asteroids between the Earth and Mars. And every once in a while, they come to the earth to cause havoc. Like Hitler was definitely a Rakshasa. And he caused the death of 50 million people. So throughout history, you have periods where there's terrible suffering. And a lot of people die horribly. And we have to understand why these things are happening. And is it possible to be, let's say, saved from such horrible death? Well, yes, there is. I'll give you the example of my mother. My mother, when she was only about 7, 8 years old, her whole family was massacred. And when she was left alone in the desert in Del Azur, in the Middle East, by herself. And the same people that massacred her family adopted her as a little girl and saved her life. So right there, you see, the people that killed her family adopted her and saved her life. See, so it's a little bit confusing. But anyway, somehow or other, she survived. Although she was left alone in the desert to die, because the last person that died was her mother, and then she was alone. But then some of the people that massacred her and others, her family and others, they saved her life and raised her as a little Muslim child. In any case, when the war was over, she and many other children like her who had been orphans and had been taken in by Muslim families to make them Muslims, because they were all young kids, like 5, 6, 8, 10 years old. They were there was a house-to-house search by French gendarmes, or military people, with priests, and all those children were taken away from the homes of their captors, or they were Turkish families, and put into orphanages, and so forth. So my mother survived in a miraculous way. There's much more to her story, but I won't tell it right now. So we see how in this world there are difficult times when many, many people suffer. It's happening right now. You can see what's happening in Palestine, Israel, and many other places in the world. There's war going on now. The United Nations was started in 1948, and they were supposed to stop all wars and have peace. There's more wars now than before. So the question can be asked, why is there so much war, and why so many people are being killed as victims of these wars? Well, it's because people do not understand who they are and what is the purpose of life and how to execute that purpose of life. And therefore, they're living, or we are living, an ignorant life, and in ignorance, you suffer. So what is the ignorance? It's not understanding who you actually are. If I ask you, who are you? You're going to probably say, oh, I'm so-and-so, and I was born in India, and or I was born in the United States, and this is my religion, and this is my ethnicity, etc., etc. All these identifications are wrong. Now, a lot of people might argue, what do you mean wrong? I was born in a Muslim family, therefore I'm a Muslim. No, you're not actually a Muslim, or you're not actually a Christian, or you're not even actually a Hindu. you are a child of God. The real father of everyone is God, or Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this identification with the body, I am white, I am black, I am Hindu, I am Muslim, those are all false identities. Why? Because the body is always changing. And the real person is the soul that's animating the body with consciousness. And that soul is not Hindu, that soul is not Muslim, it's not rich, it's not poor, it's not white, it's not black. It's part and parcel of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nothing is independent of Krishna. All living entities are originally coming from Krishna, the Supreme Father. So, right away, a child is born. I remember when I was born, my parents taught me that I was born into such a family, and I was a Christian, I was this, and I was that. One day, when I was about 24 years old, I met this one gentleman who was a Turkish gentleman. And I was born in an Armenian family. So this Turkish gentleman and I became good friends. Although the Turks massacred the Armenians, but he was a nice man, and we became friends. One day his friend came from Turkey, and he asked my friend, the Turkish man, he said, "Who's this man?" He said, "Oh, he's so-and-so, he's an Armenian." And the visiting man said, "Oh, dushman." Dushman means enemy, right? So I looked at him. Of course, I speak some Turkish also. So I said, what do you mean, dushman? You don't even know who I am. You know, how do you know I am your dushman? I'm your enemy. I'm not your enemy. You know, and my friend also, he also got upset. He said, "Why are you calling him like that? You know, he's a good person." So we see how these false identifications lead to eventually war, murder, and so many things. It's happening every day all over the world. Why? Because we're taught from our birth that I am this body. Now, that is absolutely wrong. And if you say, I am this body, I could ask you the question, which one of the bodies that you have had are you? And you say, what do you mean? I'll tell you what I mean. You began as a microscopic sperm, the father's sperm. You need a microscope to see it. And that microscopic sperm carried by your father was inserted into the womb of the mother, and the mother has the ovum, which is like the nutritional, let's say, the supplies of nutrition for the little sperm to grow and develop into a human being. Now that little sperm is microscopic. It carries all the information to perform the entire body. Now the body is a miraculous construction. Look at your own body. You know, you don't even understand yourself, or we don't really understand ourselves, how our body is working, right? Like, do you understand how you digest food? Do you understand how you make blood? Do you understand how you make sperm, or how a woman makes ovums? We don't understand these things. Do women understand how they make the baby in their womb? They don't understand how to do that. All these things are mysterious, right? But yet they're happening even in our own body. So, therefore, we have to think very carefully about this. The number one question that everybody has is, why am I forced to get born? I don't think anybody here chose to be born. If you did, raise your hand. why am I getting sick? Because usually you don't choose to get sick. Why am I getting old? Nobody likes getting old. And why am I going to die? Nobody likes that. So how did I get into this predicament of birth, old age, disease, and death? We have to ask this question. Otherwise, we're not really thinking about what's going to happen to us. We're ignoring such a profound question. Why am I subject to these four things that I don't really like? Birth, old age, disease, and death. Unless we ask that question, our life remains shrouded in ignorance. Ignorance means I don't know. But when you ask this question, why is this happening, then you try to find out. Now, how do you find out? Well, you have to go to an expert. Just like if you have a toothache, you go to the dentist. If you have a heart problem, you go to the doctor. If you have a foot problem, you go to a podiatrist. And if you don't know why you're suffering, who do you go to? You have to go to the devotee of Krishna. And he can explain to you why you're suffering. And that's the most important question. Atheists always usually win arguments with people that believe in God by saying, well, if there is a God, how come there's so much evil in this world? That means that the evil people are more powerful than God. Or that means that there is no God, because he's not stopping the evil people. See? So the existence of evil confuses people, especially if you experience evil, people being killed, like we're experiencing right now, genocide taking place in Israel and Palestine, where thousands and thousands and thousands of people are being killed, and killed with bombs and weapons supplied by the United States to the Israelis. And so we see you get confused when there is evil, because nobody wants that. Everybody wants to live a peaceful life and a happy life. But yet there are situations in which there is birth, old age, disease, and death. And why? Because we are not meant to be here. We're not meant to have a material body. The material body is a prison, and it's subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. So therefore, it's very difficult to live in a body, because at any time it can get injured, you can get sick, you can suffer tremendous pain, and so forth. So we have to ask these questions. Why is there suffering? Why am I getting old? What's going to happen to me when I die? These are all important questions that most people don't ask. Why? Because they don't have answers, or they don't know anybody that has real answers, or they have heard answers and they think it's a bunch of nonsense what they were told. Right? So, therefore, they avoid the question and just try and live as much as they can, and accept that, look, you only live once, you're born, you live a certain period of time, and then you die, and when you die, there's nothing. That is not true. That is wishful thinking. There's no such thing as when you die, there's nothing. But people, like one time I was speaking to this lady who was a PhD, or she was getting her PhD in UW, and she said, my only prayer is that when I die, there's nothing. Well, I asked her a question. I said, okay, are you an atheist? She said, yes. Then who are you praying to? You said, my only prayer is that when I die, there should be nothing. So who did you pray to? She said, I pray to the universe. So you see, even though she's an atheist, she's using religious terminology, terms to express herself. So these are fundamental questions that most people avoid because they don't have the real answers. That's why when you come to the temple, like here, you can get the real answers. The real answers are in the Bhagavad Gita, the greatest scripture in the history of the world. What is Bhagavad Gita? It is Krishna speaking about himself and answering all the questions of Arjuna. Arjuna is his devotee. Arjuna is a very, very intelligent person, and he's asking every question that's pertinent if you meet God. And Krishna, who is God, is answering every one of the questions perfectly. So if we want to understand who is God, if we want to understand why we are suffering, if we want to understand how to get out of all that suffering, if we want to understand what is actually the purpose of life, you have to read Bhagavad Gita. All those questions are answered and more. Now, how to read the Bhagavad Gita? Well, even if you're an atheist, in order to read the Bhagavad Gita, let's say, profoundly, you have to temporarily, the atheist has to temporarily accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, when they read Bhagavad Gita, they won't understand anything. And even if they're an atheist, they still should consider that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Arjuna is his devotee, and Arjuna correctly is asking him questions about the most important issues of life: birth, death, old age, disease, and how to be free of these things, and how to go back to Godhead and not have a material body. You get your spiritual body, and no more birth, death, old age, and disease. No more taxes. No more this. No more that. So just happiness and peace and love in an eternal body with many, many other liberated persons who believed that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and accepted to hear about him. You only learn by hearing from authorities. You don't learn by talking. For example, people that like to gossip. Well, to be a good gossiper, you don't have to know anything. You can say whatever you want. You know, this one did that. That one had this type of clothing on. And this one, I don't think they're honest. But, you know, they're making all these things up. And they're talking, and it's all nonsense. See? So you don't learn by talking. You learn by listening to someone who's an expert on the most important subject. What's going to happen to me when I die? That's the most important subject. Now, the idiots, they say, what do you mean? That's we know what's going to happen. We're going to die, that's it. Everything's over. No, that's not true. You see, that's a wishful thought of the atheist. But that's not true. Why? Because when a person says, you're only born once, you only live once, and when you die, there's nothing, all three of those statements is wrong. Therefore, anyone who believes that, they're living in an illusion of ignorance. And because of that, they will not have a successful life. So there is this one man, he was a philosopher. His name was Blaise Pascal. Now there's René Pascal. He was like a big doctor and so forth, scientist. But there's a philosopher called Blaise Pascal. Now he said, when you flip a coin, if you keep flipping it, it'll be half of the time you'll get heads, and half of the time you'll get tails, if you keep flipping it long enough, right? So he said, it's the same thing about belief in God. If he exists, he doesn't exist, he exists, he doesn't exist. It's like flipping a coin. He said, however, if you believe there is a God, then you live a good life. And if you die, and find out there's no God, you're only a one-time loser. But if you don't believe there is a God, and you don't live a good life, you drink, you smoke, you drink, you philander, you do all the bad things, you gamble, and so forth, you lead a bad life, and when you die, you find out there is a God, you're a two-time loser. So he said, the odds are in your favor to believe in God. Now, you see, this guy's is a philosopher, but he's very smart. Therefore, you're only a one-time loser if you believe in God. But if you don't believe in God, you're a two-time loser because you lived a bad life and now you're going to hell when you die. But if you're a believer and follow a godly life, then you're only a one-time loser. Okay, everybody's going to die. You lost your body. But you continue to live in your soul, and then depending on what your consciousness is at the moment of death, you can get another human body, or you can get an animal body, depending how you live. But if you had a good life, you'll definitely get another human body to continue your spiritual quest. So all these things are thought carefully by intelligent people. So therefore, you can only be a one-time loser if you believe that God exists. And then when you die, there's no God. Okay, so you made that mistake, but you lived a good life. But if you're an atheist and you drink, you philander, you smoke, you gamble, you do all those so-called good things, it's a bad life. And when you die, because you're an atheist and there is God, you're a two-time loser. So the odds are in your favor to live a clean life, a spiritual life, where you follow the rules and regulations of Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma means eternal. Sanatan means eternal. And Dharma means your occupational duties that are dictated to you by God. So what are those occupational duties? Well, there's yamas and niyamas, things you should never do and things you should always do. So you should never eat meat, gamble, illicit sex, intoxicate. And other things too, like cheating, lying, all those things. But those are the four big things: meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, and intoxication. Wait a minute. That's what everybody is doing in the United States and other countries, and India also. They eat meat, they take intoxicants, they philander, or they have illicit sex, and they gamble. Okay, so here we see that the four things that Krishna said 5,000 years ago, don't do these four things. And in place of doing those four things, chant Hare Krishna, eat only prasadam. Regularly hear genuine pundits, genuine devotees speak about who Krishna is, and go on Harinam Sankirtan and glorify Lord in public and help other people become Krishna conscious. So the four things that Krishna recommended us to do, and the four things they told us not to do, today people are doing the four things we should not do and avoiding the four things that we should do. Now we have the answer to most of the, let's say, questions. Why is there so much suffering in the world? Because people are eating meat, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, and so forth. And as soon as you break even one of those rules, all the other rules are going to be broken also. And other things like cheating, lying, all that, it's going to evolve naturally due to the false premise of meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, and intoxication. So now people will say, well, wait a minute. What's wrong with meat eating? Caveman was meat eating. And my family eats meat. And I can go back, 5 generations in my family. They were all meat eaters. So it's a normal thing. It's part of our culture. Well, that's not actually culture. That is actually deviation from real culture. Real culture is following Sanatan Dharma. That's real culture. Culture means how you do things. So in Sanatan Dharma, we follow the rules. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. Chant Hare Krishna, eat only prasadam. Regularly hear genuine devotees speak Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And go on Harinam Sankirtan. Chant the glories of Lord in the temple, chant the glories of Lord in public. These are the activities of genuine devotees. And what happens when you follow these activities? Life becomes very peaceful, life becomes very simple, because spiritual life should be a life of minimalist living. That is, not eating too much, not eating too little, and not trying to accomplish, hard things to get that require a lot of time and energy. The spiritual life is a minimalist life, doing things such as work just enough to maintain yourself, so you have time to chant Hare Krishna, you have time to teach your kids and spend time with your kids, you have time to engage in devotional activities. It's not that every day you're working so hard you don't have time to chant Hare Krishna, you don't have time hardly to even speak to your kids, and you don't have time to learn Shastra. You see, this is the trick of capitalism. It gets you to work really hard. I mean, people in the United States work really hard. They can spend 8, 9, 10. Sometimes people they get so, let's say, overwhelmed with their fear of losing their job, they sleep underneath the computer at work at night. No, they don't even go home. They just sleep underneath the computer and then get up right away and start computing. So we see how this, what you would call, it's a type of fear-mongering. Oh, am I going to lose my job? How am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? That's why living a minimalist life means, I'll give you an example. I had a friend of mine, and he was not a devotee, and there was an economic downturn in the United States. It was about 15, 20 years ago. You see, in capitalism, this was chronicled by Karl Marx. He wrote this book, Das Kapital, the German title of the book, where he explained that capitalism, the system of capitalism, which is what basically we follow today, will always have ups and downs. In other words, it's never, everything is not going to keep going up, 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 up like that. I remember one time my wife told me, we have to buy a new house. I said, okay, but I don't think it's the right time. She said, why do you mean it's not the right time? I said, well, we don't know what's going to happen to the economy. And she said, well, every week, every month, the prices are going up. I said, yeah, but they can come down. And what goes up can come down also. She said, no, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, I don't care. I'm not buying any house right now. 2 months later, there was a crash, and a lot of houses lost, a lot of equity. And, and I told my wife, you see, you have, you cannot just think that just like now, you don't think that the economy is just going to go up and up and up and up all the time. Capitalism, as was explained by Karl Marx in the book he wrote in 1860s, that capitalism there's going to be ups and downs. It's not always going to keep going up, and it's not always going to keep going down. It's going to fluctuate. Right? All right. So here we see we live in a world where where we're living right now, like the United States. It's basically a capitalist country, but the United States has changed over time. And now it's a mixture of capitalism and socialism. It's a like a kitchery right now, but there is a lot of emphasis on individual people making money and being able to keep their wealth or some of their wealth. And the communist part of it is that you have taxes where they try and take away your wealth, right? So, but there's some kind of an equilibrium over time where people are able to make a living, although it's hard, and save money and maybe buy new houses, new cars, and so forth. The worst thing is buying on credit, because when you buy on credit, you're going to be a loser. You're going to be paying a lot more than what that car is actually worth. Even if you buy a brand new car, you're going to pay a lot more money. So if you buy a car that's, let's say it's $10,000, by the time you finish all your payments, you already paid $25,000. You see, so we have to learn to be minimalists, not to expend, not to take loans, not to spend money that we don't have. Now, that might be difficult to accept because you say, well, I wanted this thing, and now you're saying this, and what am I going to have? I'm not going to have anything. No, because if you only buy things that you can afford, you'll never go in debt. Now, I had a friend of mine, again, this is another friend, but he was not a devotee also, and there was an economic downturn, and I asked him one day, I said, how are you doing? He said, okay. I said, did you get hurt on the stock market? He said, no. I said, really? He said, no. He said, I don't have any stocks. He said, I've never bought one stock in my whole life. I only have my savings, and I don't buy anything on credit. I only buy things I can pay cash. Well, here's a smart man. He doesn't have any debt. He only buys things that he can afford to buy. You see, and in that way, it doesn't hurt him if the stock market goes up or it comes down. There's this one man in Syria. He used to sell hira, meaning he used to sell what do you call it? Hira? Huh?
Diamonds.
No, not diamonds. Cucumber, yeah.
It's kira.
Kira, yeah. So for 40 years he sold kira, pachas paisa, right? One day it comes and he jacks the price up, 5 rupees. So everyone was shocked. They said, Baisab said, what's going on here? He said, dollar went up. Now he's in Syria, right? They don't have dollars, but see, he learned the trick. The dollar went up. That's why I had to raise the prices. So we see this is all cheating, even with gasoline, it goes up $5, $6, $7, then it comes down to $4, then it goes up again, then it comes down again. You see, it's all cheating, and there's not much we can do about it. We can't, you can't stop putting gas in your car. So living a minimalist life means that you can be hurt less than if you live a expensive life. And just like my father told me once, he said, look, when you're in your affluent days, don't spend money. I mean, save your money. So when there's bad times, you'll have money. So it's better not to spend a lot of money when you're making money. But most people do that. As soon as they make a lot of money, they start spending it right away. He said, better, save your money, because if there's a downturn, you won't get hurt. So this is not spiritual. It's material advice. But many times, people that spend more than they have because of getting loans and this and that, even though they're devotees, if they go bankrupt for one reason or other, sometimes they commit suicide. I know a family, they went bankrupt. They were very wealthy before, but they went bankrupt. They committed suicide. So therefore, we have to learn to have a balanced life, not too excessive, and minimalist, and live simple life, simple living, high thinking. So, what is the high thinking? High thinking is understanding who is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Krishna is the controller of everything. How do you think your heart is beating? Krishna controls it. How do you think you digest food? Krishna controls it. You don't control it. You don't know how it's working, right? How do you know how your eyes are working? It's not under your control. It's under Krishna's control. See? So therefore, we should now make a real concerted effort to understand who Krishna is, because he's the person controlling everything in my body, in my mind, in my life. And everybody's under the same control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, what does it mean to follow Sanatana Dharma? Dharma means your occupational duty, and Sanatan means eternal. That Sanatana Dharma's definition, therefore, is what you should be doing eternally according to God's will, God's instructions. So, Krishna has said clearly in Bhagavad Gita that we should engage all our activities in pleasing Bhagavan or Krishna. So in other words, the first thing you should teach your kids, and the first thing that we should learn, is before we act, we should ask the question, will Krishna accept this or not? So let's say you have a dream, and in your dream, it's a bad dream, and in the dream, God appears before you and says, take the knife in the kitchen and stab your wife to death. Now you wake up and say, oh my God, God spoke to me, and he said, I gotta kill my wife. Oh my God. So now, if you ever have a dream like that, and you wake up, and you actually say, wait, but God spoke to me, what do? You come here to the temple, and you ask me, Prabhuji, I had a very bad dream last night. In the dream, Krishna spoke to me and told me to stab my wife, kill her. What should I do? And I'll answer, ignore it. It was a bad dream. He said, but no, I actually saw him, and he spoke to me. I said, look, nobody spoke to him. It's because that you've been watching too many television programs and movies, and there's a metamorphose that takes place in your mind where all these bad images that you've seen, translates into your wife and into the knife, and you stabbing her. I said it has nothing to do with the truth, so just ignore it. But some people don't ignore those things. A lot of people, they kill someone, they kill their wife or their kids or a neighbor, and the police say, why do you do it? And they say, oh, God told me to do it. Have you ever read that in the newspaper? God told me to do it. They say that a lot of times. Or they say some voice told me, This is all nonsense. Why is it nonsense? Well, let me give you an example. Is there anyone here who murdered someone? You can raise your hand. Okay. So you see, nobody raised their hand, and I'm sure none of you murdered anyone. So this is something that you have never done, and you know that you should not do it, right? But if you want to have entertainment, you turn on the television and you see 5 or 10 murders in a half an hour. Now, something that you would never do. Now, for your entertainment, you're watching these movies. It could be you go to the movie, you go to the, your television or whatever, and you're seeing people get murdered, and that's called entertainment. Now, how can it be entertainment if it's something that you would never do? You see, now, therefore, nowadays you see there's a lot of propaganda that too many kids are getting guns and shooting other kids and killing people. We should take the guns away. Well, wait a minute. Where did that kid learn to get a gun and shoot someone? Watching television, watching movies, right? If they never saw anyone shoot a gun and kill someone, they wouldn't know about it. But they're seeing it all the time in the movies. Now, if the government wants to stop young kids from getting a gun and shooting someone, they should stop the movies, because the movies, for you to pay $8, $10, $12 to get into a movie nowadays, that's, before, I remember I'd go to a movie, I'd pay $1.25, right? Nowadays, you can pay, a large amount of money to go into the movie. So to get people to pay that money, they make the movies more and more violent and more sexual. Because the older movies were not that violent. There was some violence, but it wasn't as much, and it wasn't so sexual. Nowadays, all the movies are more sexual and more violent, so that people will pay the money to go in and see it. Now, is that entertainment? When you watch someone being killed in a movie, when you watch some sexual thing happening in the movie, it's not entertainment. It is a type of what you would call a type of propaganda to engage in sinful activity. That's exactly what it is. Propaganda to engage in sinful activity, because you become insensitive. If you see so many murders and so much sex, then you become insensitive and you lose the sense of morality, you lose the sense of duty to God and so forth. And then all these bad thoughts go into your mind. So we have 9 holes in the body. So you have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, a mouth, an anus, and a genital. You are going to be what enters those 9 holes. And if you let in, too much political talk, too much sexual talk, too much talk about money, too much talk about going to Disneyland, blah, 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 like that, all that nonsense into your ears, and then movies about those things, and so forth, that's going to determine who you are. Just like young kids, oftentimes the parents nowadays, the kid is only, is 2 years old, they give him a cell phone. And he doesn't know exactly how to use it, but he learns very quickly, or she learns very quickly. And now they have a lethal weapon in their hand, because they can go anywhere in the world, talk to anyone in the world, see anything they want to see on that cell phone. So cell phone, television, and all these media things are very, very dangerous. In fact, just yesterday in the United States Senate, they were grilling Zuckerberg. And they said, you have caused the death of many young kids and destroyed their lives. Yeah, because of going on Facebook and, meeting all kinds of people and learning to do all kinds of what you would call perverted things. So people learn by hearing, just like now, you're hearing me speak. You don't learn by speaking, you learn by hearing. So if you hear bad people talking all the time, it's not surprising that you become a bad person also. So therefore, in traditional India, children were protected. Even, 50 years ago, there was no television. Kids would learn to memorize. They could memorize whole Bhagavad Gita and things like that. They were not exposed to all the nonsense that kids are exposed to today. And they became, let me ask you a question. Have you been badly educated in India? In modern India, yes. But in previous India, no. Everyone was taught to go regularly to the temple, to do the pujas, to follow Sanatana Dharma, and live a simple life. And I'm sure most of your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, they didn't have millions and millions of dollars, but they were able to raise a family, and the kids were good. You can tell because Indians are high. A lot of Indians are high achievers, and it's because of the education system. But now the American education system has filtered into India, and all the bad habits that are in the United States and Western countries has filtered into India, and now a lot of people are getting contaminated. A lot of the younger generation is getting contaminated. You learn by listening, and if you listen to people speaking nonsense all the time about sex, about making money, about going on vacation, about the cricket, and about this and about that, but nothing about Krishna, nothing about Sanatana Dharma, then it ruins your mind, and you can't. That's all you think about, right? So, therefore, coming to the temple regularly, hearing the classes, participating in the activities, and reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and engaging in actual devotional service, this is the balance. You're not going to get away from all the nonsense outside, but you won't be influenced by it because you'll understand what's the difference between real sense and nonsense. And therefore, when people start talking nonsense, or prajalpa, as they say in Sanskrit, you will avoid those discussions with such people. And you'll save your mind from being polluted by hearing all kinds of nonsense things. So this is a decision that you have to make in your life, what you're going to hear and who you're going to hear from. Those are the two major decisions you have to make if you want to be educated. If you want to be poisoned, then you don't discriminate, and you hear all kinds of speculations. Speculations are things that are not what you would say verified as far as Shastra goes. Shastra means the original Shastras are Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So when people speak outside of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, that is speculation. And speculation means maybe it's like this and maybe it's like that. Like, for example, one of the biggest speculations and hoaxes is that the United States went to the moon 50 years ago. It never happened. The whole thing was staged. And in 50 years, they didn't try and go back again. And now they're trying to go back to the moon again, and they're not doing it. Every time they send a moon rocket without human beings on it, it crashes or it lands upside down or something like that, right? So they say they did it 50 years ago. They haven't done it for 50 years, and they say they're going to do it in the future. That means it's nonsense. That means it never went 50 years ago. When Christopher Columbus discovered like Florida, and then he went back to Italy and he told everyone what's going on in Florida, boat after boat, all the capitalists in Europe, they built the boat after boat to send it to this new continent and exploit its riches. Now, 50 years ago, they claimed they went to the moon, and 50 years later, they haven't tried again, and now they're trying again, but it doesn't look like they're making much progress. Do you actually think they went to the moon? No, they didn't go to the moon. They faked the whole thing, and people have believed it all this time. So in other words, they're saying, we went in the past, we haven't gone for 50 years, but we will go in the future. That means it's nonsense. They never went. If they went, then they would have kept going. Just like Columbus, he goes and discovers Florida or somewhere, and then when he goes back and tells the people in Europe, boat after boat they sent, and they colonized, South America, North America, Canada, everything, right? So here these people say they went to the moon, and now 50 years they didn't even try to go back again, and now they're trying to go back again. It's all a hoax. Unless we understand things as they are, we become fooled by it. And we actually believe things that are not true. So let's deal with things that are true. You're born, you get old, you get sick, and you die. There's no lie there. Those are four absolute things that are going to happen to every one of us. Now, the question is, what can I do to free myself from this terrible situation? Nobody, I never saw a baby laughing and being joyful at the moment of birth. Have you ever seen a baby laugh? No, they're all crying. Right? Oh, the parents are happy, but the kid just went through a horrible experience, right? They're tied up in the womb of the mother, and now they come out, and it's for them, it's a traumatic experience, right? So, birth, then old age. Nobody likes to get old. It's a horrible thing. I'm 78 years old. I remember when my mom was like 78, and she told me one day, she said, I'm 78 and it's not worth 10 cents. In other words, she was saying, basically, it's not any achievement to be 78 years old because it's just problem after problem every day with the body. So, yeah, we're old, we get sick. Every week, somebody gets sick in this temple, and that's the people working in the temple, the devotees, right? And I say, well, where is so-and-so? Oh, he got COVID. Where is so-and-so? Oh, she had to go to the hospital. Oh, where is so-and-so? Oh, they had an accident, And this is every week this is going on. So we see that the only thing that's sure and certain is getting old, getting sick, and dying. Those things are sure. The only thing that's not sure is, are you going to be healthy? Are you going to avoid dying? And are you going to, not have accidents and so forth? No. So therefore, we should take complete shelter in Krishna. And Krishna promises, that my devotee will never perish. So we should trust Krishna, follow Krishna's instructions, you will be protected. All right, I'm going to stop right there because that's the main thing that we should understand tonight. If you learn about Krishna, who he is, his qualities, his transcendental activities, and his history and so forth, you'll see that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's promising to protect his devotee. So becoming a devotee of Krishna, that's your best insurance policy, and it's free. All you have to do is be sincere, that's all. So you want to have protection, then chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Practice bhakti yoga seriously. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. Chant 16 good rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. If you can't do 16, start with 2 or 4 or 8 or 10, like that, until you get to 16 eventually. Eat only prasadam. No, like for example, you buy a birthday cake in Safeway, and then you look, when you bring it home, you look at the ingredients and it says egg. Well, wait a minute. We can't eat egg. No eggs, no fish, no meat, and so forth. So you say, well, I already bought it, and I have to eat it anyway. No. And people do that. Don't laugh. People do that all the time. Because they didn't look at the ingredients when they bought it. To bring it home, they look at the ingredients, there's egg in it. Or there's other things that we shouldn't eat. So we have to follow Krishna's dietary suggestions. We have to follow Krishna's suggestions of how to live. Go to bed early, wake up early, chant Hare Krishna, bathe regularly once, best is twice every day. Read Bhagavad Gita, come to the temple, do seva, hear the classes, give the classes, learn enough that you can actually give classes also, or at least preach to others. That means that you have a balanced life. If you're working 8 to 12 hours a day, you should be having at least 2 or 3 hours of spiritual activity to balance it off. If it's just work, 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 make money, 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 no, then you're not balancing, and you're going to have a lot of trouble in your life because there's no spiritual content. There was this one person, what was his name? He was an Indian. He was doing very well, and then he went bankrupt, and he did he murdered his wife and his kids and himself. It was called a honor death, right? Honor killing. There's nothing honorable about killing your own wife and kids, right? But why did he do that? Because his whole life was based on making money. And when he lost his money on the stock market and so forth, he was bankrupt materially and spiritually. If he wasn't bankrupt spiritually, if he had a spiritual life, then he would say, okay, well, I lost all my money. We'll just start all over again and work honestly. But why would he choose to kill his family, his wife and his kids and himself? Because he was bankrupt spiritually. That's why. Because without that money, he didn't see any future for himself. This is the problem of only having a material life. Okay, I'll stop right there. If you would like to ask a question, here's your chance. If you have any question, or if you have any doubts about what I said, this is a chance to ask a question. If there are questions that you asked to other people but you never got an adequate answer, now's the chance to ask that question and hear what I can answer. Yes. Hare Krishna.
Krishna also says to Arjun to do your karma in this time, in this life. So our job, so why shouldn't we do hard work for the focus? If we live and maintain our life, so if we go below that, then maybe we can suffer. You mentioned we should do hard work. We shouldn't do hard work. We only maintain the life. So yeah, this is my question.
Well, look, what do you mean by hard work? You tell me what your definition of hard work is. What's hard work in your mind?
I always enjoy our work, so I can't say what's the hard work.
So that's the point. You can't say what is the hard work, right? So the question is not good question then if you can't say what hard work is. Hard work is like, you're working so hard, you have no time to chant Hare Krishna, you have hardly time to eat, you hardly have any time to take a shower, so oftentimes you don't have time to take the shower. And, you're always worried about paying this and paying that. And, that's what hard work is. You don't have time to talk to your kids, you don't have time to cook properly, etc. That's what hard work is. Okay, your question, no, what you're asking is, if I take care of my children, if I take care of my husband, if I keep the house clean, if I cook properly, that's hard work. And isn't that enough hard work? No, it's not enough. You have to also chant Hare Krishna. You have to also read a little bit, Bhagavad Gita. You have to also come to the temple at least once a week. And that's not hard. Those are fun things to do. The other thing is, washing the dishes, washing the clothing, ironing the clothing, going to the bank, coming back from the bank, taking the kid to the soccer game, bringing him back from the soccer game. All that is hard work. Huh? All that is hard work. But, yeah. Wait a minute. Did you understand the answer to this question? Okay, go ahead.
One more question. You mentioned that if we don't believe in God, then we are two-time loser.
Yes.
If we believe in God, then we are the one-time loser.
Yes.
So I want to put the question here. So how we are the one-time loser? We are taking the faith, we are the chanting. So
A one-time loser means you die, but you had a good life, and now you go back to Godhead because you had a good life. Two-time loser is you don't believe in God, you don't have a good life, you die and you find out there is God, now you lost twice. You understand? You can only... Well, you could say that also, but the point is that you're going to be a winner if you believe in God. That's the main thing. You know? Okay?
Once you mentioned about this, which is, the verse that you asked all of us to recite, Tasmat Sarveshu Kalishu, Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha. So Krishna, when I think he didn't ask Arjuna to just fight, he asked Arjuna to think of him and then fight. So
Think of him, do your duty. Yeah, you have to fight.
So that means spiritual.
So
is
you were
first.
you were not trained to be a kshatriya. You were trained to be a housewife, let's say, right? So your dharma is to do the housework in a Krishna conscious way.
One more question. You elaborate the Sanatan Dharma. Dharma is the occupation duty, and Sanatan is attending.
Occupational duties given by Krishna, right? So there's occupational duties for brahmanas, kshatriyas, vaishyas, and sudras. They're written. They're written in the Bhagavad Gita. The occupational duties for these four different positions of people. Go ahead.
Sanatan is the eternally, so I didn't understand about the Sanatan.
Okay. Well, if you follow your duties correctly, according to your position as either a brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, sudra, and actually develop love for Krishna, you go back to Godhead. If you only do your duties, but you don't actually achieve love for Krishna, then you have a good life, you have some good karma, but you're not going back to Godhead. You might go to Swarga, and the Swarga is still in the material world. There's still death, even if you attain Swarga, the higher planets. So it's not just doing your duty. You do your duty, but you also develop genuine love for Radha and Krishna. Then you go back to Godhead, and you have a good life. But if you just do your duties, and you have a good life, but you don't actually develop love for Krishna, then you're not going to go back to Godhead.
So generally, lust towards the Krishna is the Sanatan Dharma.
Well, Sanatan means eternal. Dharma means you follow the duties that Krishna has given you or has prescribed for us. So, yeah, you follow Sanatan Dharma, that's good, but you still have to develop love for Krishna. You can follow Sanatan Dharma, but you don't actually attain love for Krishna, then you go to the heavenly planets. Then when your punya is finished, then you come back again into the lower planets, and you start all over. So that's called the Ferris wheel syndrome. Ferris wheel goes up and down, up and down. So if you follow Dharma, you're dharmic and you're brahminical and so forth, but you don't actually have love for Krishna, then you'll go up and then you'll come down, because up means you go up because your punya. When your punya is finished, you come back down again and you start again. So how do you attain love for Krishna? That's the question. You can follow Dharma and not attain love for Krishna. Or you can follow the Dharma and attain love for Krishna. So love for Krishna is determined by how much you serve the Lord. By cooking for the Lord, and how much you're thinking of what you're thinking about. If while you're cooking you're thinking about, oh, this neighbor of mine, she said this thing, and we need some more money to buy this, and my husband is working too much, So if your mind is thinking like that while you're cooking for Krishna, you're not going to go back to Godhead. But if your mind is focused only on making the best tasting prasadam possible for Krishna and then serving your family with that, then you're preparing yourself to go back to Godhead, because in your mind you're learning to meditate always on pleasing Krishna. It's not that you're going to invite some people over and you want to please them. If you want to please Krishna, you'll please everyone. But if you only want to please your neighbors that you invited over for dinner, and that's what you're meditating on, then you don't get that benefit of going back to Godhead. Everything depends on what you're thinking at the moment of death. And if you're thinking about your 401k and vacations you've taken, and don't forget, at the moment of death, almost everything you did in your life will flash in your mind very quickly. And you'll see all these things that you did previously. And if most of those things are nonsense, then you don't go back to God. But if most of your life was spent on serving Krishna and engaging in Sanatana Dharma, then that's what you're going to see. And because of that, it'll be easy to remember Krishna at the moment of death. You can't just say, well, I'll live and do all the things, eat, sleep, mate, defend, and go on vacation and everything. And when I get really old and sick, then I'll chant Hare Krishna. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. We have to practice. Practice makes perfect. So you practice chanting 16 rounds a day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. We don't understand how powerful the Hare Krishna mantra is. Even if you don't get initiated, even if you don't come to the temple, but you're chanting Hare Krishna all the time and sincerely, you'll go back to Godhead. This mantra, it's the great mantra for liberation from the cycle of birth and death. But you have a better chance of going back to Godhead if you keep the association of devotees, because in the association of devotees, you'll never stop chanting. If you chant on your own and never associate with devotees, you have a good chance of stopping at one point. So sadhu sangha is number one thing that we must obtain, the sadhu sangha, the association of good devotees. Then you'll chant Hare Krishna. And if there's any problems in your life, you'll have these people to help you, these good devotees to help you, so you can get rid of your doubts and continue to chant. But if you chant by yourself, yeah, you'll chant, but something can happen. You can decide, I'm not going to chant anymore. So chanting Hare Krishna and hearing genuine devotees speak about Krishna and engaging in devotional service, these are the things, this is the life of a bhakta or a devotee or a sevak. So we have to balance our life so we have some time to do these things every day, especially the chanting. So therefore, you have to go to sleep early, before 10 o'clock, so that you can wake up 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning and have at least 2 hours where you can chant your rounds nicely. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then you'll be able to go through the rest of the day and be very happy. But when you don't chant and you're trying to chant during the day, you'll never finish your rounds. I see people sometimes in the middle of the night, or they're standing in the back there with their bead bag on. They're trying to chant, listening to the class. You'll never finish your rounds like that. It's impossible. It's too many diversions. But if you chant like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, there's no television, there's no kids to feed, your husband is not there, he's sleeping, and you have time. Or your husband's awake also, and he's also chanting. So then you have the time to chant. So you have to plan your day every day. You have to plan it. Okay, so now if you plan your day, we should go to sleep in about 45 minutes. Yeah.
Yes.
It'll be at 9:30. right? And then you'd be able to wake up 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning and chant your rounds. Hari Bol. Then you'll be a success. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, so what I wanted to say about Tesla, but this Nikolai Tesla, not Tesla, what's his name? Yeah. Huh? Huh? What? Yeah, not Elon Musk. So this Nikolai Tesla, he was a brilliant person, very, very smart. His purpose in life was to create an electric, something like a electric spark that could go all over the world and carry with it images and, without wires. And he, I would say, was able to do that. But the problem was, and his idea was, if he could create such a weapon, that just with electricity, they could destroy airplanes, they could destroy tanks, they could do all these things, then they would stop war. Now, that is a very dangerous thing to want to do, because whoever can get that weapon, they can win wars, right? His idea was he would stop all wars, because if let's say if the United States had that weapon, everybody else would surrender to them, and then there wouldn't be any war. But what happened was, he did actually succeed achieving, or almost achieving, what he was trying to do, but he was assassinated. He was murdered, because either he was murdered by the Americans or he was murdered by the Russians. They don't know for sure. But it's a very dangerous thing when you start making weapons like that. A weapon is so powerful that it's electricity that he uses as a weapon. They can blow up a tank, they can blow up a whole city, they can blow up, it's like an atomic bomb that can go around the world, right? So his idea was to create such a weapon so that there would be no more war. That's what he was thinking. But all that happened was he was assassinated, because, and then they stole, the people that killed him, they took all his notes. So we should never play games with these false assumptions that you can stop wars by creating a weapon so powerful that it can wipe out the enemy. If you want to stop wars, teach people to be Krishna conscious. Then you'll stop wars. You don't stop wars by making an invincible weapon. Oh yeah, marriage.